Good people of the internet? It's your boy Chuck, appraisal specialist. Um, I just want to make a video today because a lot of people seem to they get a little uptight at dealers because they feel like they see one price online, what their car is, what it's supposed to be worth, and then they come to a dealership and then they see another price that is, then they get offered something completely different, and it kind of throws people for a loop because they're like, "Why are dealers lowballing me?" So I wanted to give a good example of why this happened. I want to show you kind of what goes on behind the scenes at a dealership when you bring your car in for an appraisal or when you do an appraisal online, right? So we're going to use this example here from cars.com. It's actually one of my favorite cars on planet Earth, the Maserati Gran Turismo. Um, First thing about a car like this, very niche, right? Very niche. They produce these from, they still make them now from 2018 to 2020, 2018 to 2019. Then they stopped for some years and then now they make them now, but it's completely different now. But anyway, that's a sidebar. Like, I love this car so much, V8 from Ferrari. So, but the thing with these cars is there's a huge gap in between what's called wholesale and retail. Now, retail is what a lot of people go on with Kelly Blue Book, and they'll see a retail price or they'll see a fair purchase price up there, and so that is like very misleading because that's what a retail dealership will list the car for. Wholesale price is more so what this car is worth as is, right? So first thing a dealer will do, you'll take the VIN here, you'll input it into a tool. Some dealers use vAuto, we use AccuTrade, which we use vAuto and Pad, doesn't matter, right? So you put the car in there, you put the mileage in here, which I've already pre-done, and then it gives you a value, right? Let me just make sure this is acting right. Yeah, okay, didn't really change anything. All right, yeah, so this car got 11,500 miles. Now this is a local car that I'm actually trying to buy here in Fort Lauderdale. So um, gray on white, assuming it's got two keys. So it spits out a instant cash offer of 45.4, which is these are usually pretty low from cars.com. And I guess this is what a dealer would use when you bring it in. You have to bring in your cash offer, and a dealer will honor this number, that's very low, to be honest. Uh, I mean, I guess in comparison to what you can sell it for, right? Um, and retail seems to be pretty low on this too as well. So what happens is wholesale wise, that's the as is value, right? And the reason there's a difference between wholesale and retail is because there's always issues with a car, especially a niche car like this, a car that's known to be high maintenance, right? So this dude even said, I asked him, hey, quick question, is there any damage I might need to know about, right? He said no damage, sticky buttons, and Maseratis get common issue, right? And I asked him about tires because in his listing he mentioned that he just put two back tires on there, and I'm like, that's always kind of leaves your mind up to speculation because it's like, why did you only put two tires? What happened? Why didn't you put the other two? So you know, um, so I asked him, hey, what are the condition of the tires? Tires are good. I have had a few replaced due to flats. So that means the other tires on the front are probably original, and then the other tires on the back he replaced due to a flat. So he was pretty much cheapening out trying to put one set of tires on versus another set. So now it probably rides weird with two new tires on the back and the original tires on the front. You know what I'm saying? So it probably ride a little weird. So you have to factor that in. And he has sticky buttons, right? So not a perfect car, and that's why I said. That's why when I made him an offer, I said I could do 47 if you fix the sticky buttons. Would be willing to do more, and I'm here in Fort Lauderdale. He said 47 is too low, but I'm not fixing anything. Will be sold as is, meaning it's wholesale value, right? So if you go to Manheim here, wholesale value on a car, if you put in 11,000, you give it the average condition report. Listen, it might be better, it might be worse in person. We just leave it how it is, right? Average, like I said, maybe need two tires, got to fix sticky buttons. I would say that's pretty average condition, right? So a wholesale value of 46. Remember, he's selling it as is. That's a wholesale value. Um, so what you do is you come here and then what you do you put what you would give them into your calculator here. So this is how you kind of calculate your value profit. Put in money for in case of tires and sticky buttons, and you generally dealers try to make about 10% on every video. I mean, every video on every vehicle. Uh, so and you try to retail it, somewhere in that range, right? So this will come out to be 53 based on this calculation, which that's actually seems it's kind of in line with this number here. Now, these are very hard cars to value because, like I said, Maserati is a very niche, and this is one of those ones where people will get very upset at dealers, like feeling like the dealer is lowballing them. And I used to actually work at Maserati in Jacksonville, so I've seen this firsthand where people get a little salty because the dealer is lowballing them, right? But you got to remember, this car is not comparable. This one has an accident on the Carfax, I believe. I can look at this one. Yeah, so this one has an accident on the Carfax, so you can't compare that one. Can't. That's not apples to apples. This one here is, and I keep in mind, this is all going on behind the scenes at a dealership. When they tell you to go have a seat, this is what they're doing in the back. The buyer, like myself, and a used car manager. So this one is an MC. So this is actually a completely different trim. See how this is a completely different rear end than this one? Completely different trim, right? So that one's out. So the only real comparable is this one here, right? And so this one is, I would say this one's probably a better spec in my opinion. There's another downside of these private parties. They don't put any pictures up here. There's like two side pictures, one with the top up, one with the top down. That does nothing for me. I can't even see the top in its entirety. Can't tell the condition of the top. Front picture, which is, I mean, that's great. I guess I can see that there's no damage here. There's no dings, no dents or anything like that. But then it immediately cuts to this. Like, what am I doing? What's the value am I getting out of this picture? That's a good song though. Uh, this picture is, I mean, it's somewhat useful. It looks like the seats are in fairly good condition, but I would probably want to know what the driver's seat looks more like than the passenger seat. Back seats has probably never been sit in. They hardly ever get used in these cars, so it's kind of an irrelevant picture. This picture does nothing. I know in Maserati sometimes the leather peels like up here, but it's more towards the dashboard on this side. So like that's not, this picture does nothing for a appraiser of a car, and this is pretty much the same as this other picture, but just with the car on and with it on a different day in a different place. It's the same picture. So I don't. So these individual buyers, man, this is also why they don't garner all the money on online is because you're essentially leaving people to guess the condition of your cars. You're essentially saying, hey, guess what my car looks like, and then anything I tell you, take my word for it. Is essentially what they tell me. I don't know what all the wheels look like. If there's curb scrapes, I have no clue, right? But this is probably the next nearest comparable. This kind of has the more base wheels on it, so I would say this one has 3,000 miles versus this one has 11,000 miles. So we're almost 12,000. So a little bit different, 3 times the mile. So that one's going to be cheaper. I don't know if it's worth that much more money, but and it's been sitting on there. See, this is DOM means days on market. So I've been sitting there for 2.5 months, and I'm sure nobody's offered remotely close to this number. So we would try to retail this maybe somewhere above this number, maybe the mid 50s, somewhere with what we would try to get out of this. It's actually a pretty nice example. Um, so if he wants a as is value, these are the offers are probably coming in somewhere in this range for him, and we actually offered above this because it's a nicely spec'd car. Because this is like like this got the suede two-tone seats, which you don't see. Because if you even go back and look at this other one, that's his only comparable. This one kind of has the regular, just base seats. You see that kind of just regular, like regular leather seats. Where this one got the nice suede up seats right here. See that suede two-tone versus just regular. Yeah, so that makes that's a pretty big option for these cars, right? Um, so for this guy, I show you our conversation. Like, I offered him 47. He said no, that's too low. And I followed up with him a week later. He said I've had a few test drives pending offers that are right at asking. So this is a common thing too that private sellers that get online, they think they can go online and just sell their car for full retail price as a as is car. And this is why there's that gap between wholesale and retail at a dealership, because this dude is selling his car as is with the sticky buttons as it is. with the tires as they are, with the, if you factor in some of the known issues that this car has, is the timing component, uh, check engine lights come on. I know TPMS sensors lights come on for this. um and so this car tends to have like some issues, right? I know like the window buttons get sticky, the sticky buttons near the driver side panel buttons get sticky, the buttons down by the infotainment system get sticky. So that's a pretty big job to remove that. And so these are things that this person doesn't take into account. Also, the service history of the car, is it up to date maintenance wise? Like these are all things that a dealership does to make the car tip top, so that way when you buy it, you shouldn't theoretically have any issues with the vehicle, right? But the private seller, they don't do it. They just say, hey, take the car as it is, and then but they want the top dollar for it. And also, on the flip side, private parties don't offer financing. So financing is a big deal because most people in America can't afford their cars cash. Most people in America finance their cars, right? So that's also a side that a dealership offers that a traditional private party seller like this does not. As if you want to buy a car like this from a private seller, you either got to come with your own financing. I mean, you have to go to your bank, go to your credit union, then they have to run your credit, or you have to try to get the best rate. And if not, they going you got to go somewhere else and try to get the best rate, or see where you can get money from this credit union, right? Versus the dealership, all that's done right there. They send your credit app to a bunch of different places, and then the best one comes back, right? Theoretically, that's how it works. At a reputable dealership, that's how it works, right? So, um, private sellers, when trying to sell a car, man, keeping in mind all these factors. You didn't represent the car fully. You're leaving everything up to speculation. It's not a detailed description of the car. Don't have the options. Don't have a window sticker. None of the things, right? I don't know the full condition. I'm guessing. I don't know the condition of the tires. You said you replaced two. You didn't tell me that you told me these are great. People say that all the time. You get there in person. I can't see the condition of the top in this picture. I can't see the sticky buttons, how bad they are. So all these things factor in, right? So when you go to a dealership and then you say they're lowballing you, just keep in mind that they have all these things to fix. So that way, when you go to the showroom, you got to detail the car up real nice, get it nice and shiny. Um, uh, you know, Take any type of PPF. You got to get any type of scratches out the car, get any type of dings out the car, dents. These are all things that you see in person that you can't see in these 5 pictures that this person has up here, right? So private sellers, they don't account for any of these things, right? In which case they get upset, but this is just a reality. A dealer offers way more than a private seller, thus commands a wholesale versus a retail price. But let me know what you think in the comments. Was this video helpful? Let me know if you want me to praise your car. Um, uh, any other questions? Let me know in the comments, or you can come by the dealership Motor Envy here in South Florida if you want to sell me your car. If you want to get an appraisal to see your car's actual value. My name is Chuck, and I'll catch you on the next.